Welcome to Basic Benches, guys, on the Nom Talk Network. How's everyone doing this evening? It is that time of week, guys. Time for us to recap the devastating Mandalorian episode that we just saw. Honestly, probably arguably the best episode this season. I think most people will probably agree with that. And honestly, I'm excited to do this, but I can't do it alone, obviously. I've got my co-hosts here to talk me through all of it, including the traumatically sad cliffhanger ending. Especially if you're a fan of Jon Favreau. But yeah, let's dive into it, guys. With us always, of course, we've got Julie and Mike. How you guys doing? Julie, would you want to do a quick intro?
Hi. Yes, Julian Grogu here. Let's see. Oh, what am I eating and drinking? So I'm drinking this is called the Positive Beverage. It's an immunity boost beverage. I don't know. It sounded good in my Star Wars mug, of course, too, with some ice. And I have a little bit more of my Grogu Go-Gurt
Yay.
left. I realized I found some in my freezer because I had frozen some because they make nice little freezer pops. And I've got a Boca Burger chicken sandwich. They're the fake chicken or whatever. So yeah. And
Sounds very tasty.
I went to Walmart today and I couldn't find cake bites. And I had somebody who literally had the Mando ones and was like, "Oh yeah, I just got them at Walmart." And I was like, okay. And I swear I just keep going to the wrong stores. Okay. I'm on a hunt though. I'm still trying to find them, but that's okay. I've got my Go-Gurt, I've got my chicken sandwich, and we're good. I'm ready to go for tonight.
We are good. I love that, Julie. And
Oh,
honestly, I feel like you'll get them before the season finale next week. So that'll be amazing. Also, I gotta wonder, at
hopefully.
what point do they just
That's my
yeah.
maybe for the season finale. I'll finally get all three of them or whatever.
That'd be amazing. That's what we spend the entire episode talking about, not the show, but the cakes, that'd be awesome. Also, at what point do they just start calling it Grogurt? I mean, like, I think that they should just call it
That's a missed
Grogurt.
opportunity.
Yeah, it's a really missed marketing opportunity, right?
Right?
Yeah,
Missed opportunity. I was
definitely
just gonna say that.
missed opportunity. Mike Lee, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would. I'm Mike Lee. I am a writer for That's in LA, The Nerds of Color, and We Live Entertainment, which I just posted my Renfield episode, my Renfield review. So yeah.
Very cool. Everybody go and check that out. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going to check it out. I want to see what Mike's thoughts are because honestly, I want to know if it's worth seeing or not. Heard some. Okay. I don't have to go see
My
it.
headline says it all, basically.
Fair enough. But everybody check that out because Mike knows good movies, honestly. And of course, I'm your host, Mike Manalo. And yeah, I think I am drinking Mountain Dew Zero, I think, which they might as well just rename it Sludge. But that being said, yeah, no, it's not terrible. At least it's zero sugar, and it's going to help prevent diabetes. Ideally, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not a doctor, guys. But that being said, we should talk about the Mandalorian. I think I'm ready to talk about it, or not ready, depending on how traumatic the experience was for you guys watching this episode. But overall, yeah, I think we can go ahead and dive into it. I know that we've got a couple of people in the chat. Our good friend Q is on, of course. Hey, Q Ball, how you doing, buddy? Hopefully you're doing well. It's great to see you. But yeah, I can't wait to dive in this episode with you, and I think we can get started. So yeah, we start things off in Coruscant this week, where we see Elia Kane shadily walking through the back alleys, as she does, it's just how she goes grocery shopping and stuff around Coruscant, just sneaking around and shit. Anyways, yeah, no, she stops in an alleyway, she sees a probe droid, and surprise number one of the night, we get Moff Gideon's return via Zoom. And then Elia Kane goes ahead and Zoom calls Moff Gideon, gives him the updates, about everything that she sees, and the Mandalorians intervening on Navarro. And Moff Gideon, of course, is like, okay, we'll give the updates to this council. And then we get surprise number two of the evening, Moff Gideon on a Zoom conference call with several other Moffs, I guess, if it were as it were, and high-ranking officers in the slowly but surely rebuilding Imperial, like, table of people. I don't know what they're called at this point. I guess it's really meant to indicate that the First Order is coming, guys, I think. And we know that for a fact because one of the members is Commandeer Hux, the father of who will know to be General Hux in the Force Awakens trilogy. Yeah, we also got a name drop for the big bad of this larger story that Favreau and Filoni are trying to tell in this New Republic, Grand Admiral Thrawn. So Thrawn is coming. The Hux is coming. The First Order is coming, and Moff Gideon places an order for 3 Praetorian guards, a bunch of bombers, a bunch of ships. And yeah, I mean, like this Dr. Evil Council thing that they've got going on is like, well, why the hell do you need all this stuff, And he's just like, oh, because the Mandalorians are coming back, and they're like, oh crap, take everything you want, dude. We're afraid of those guys. And that's kind of how the episode starts, which is a banger way to start. I'm gonna pause there. I'm gonna stop talking because I want to hear what y'all think. I mean, like Mike, Julie, when you guys saw this all happening, when you heard the name drop of Hux and Praetorian guards and Thrawn coming, what was going through your guys' heads? Open forum.
Well, I first thought that this was an incredible way to start off things, especially that slow, kind of slow burning intro, cold opening with Elia Kane walking through the more, I guess, dingy part of Coruscant. It kind of reminded me of what was that, Blade Runner? So it's like, dude, if she's got to stop by for some ramen right next to Han Solo right there, and that would have just sealed the deal.
And then Andor's right there too, like
yeah, come on, why not? But we didn't get that. That's fine. But like you were saying about having that Zoom call with the probe droid, that was pretty cool. It confirmed all our suspicions that he was alive and that he's really kind of manipulating, trying to get Curry favor, I guess, because he's asking for all these like ships and Praetorian guards and everything, like whereas Hux was played by Ryan Gleason, by the way. Yeah. So it's like, oh wow, it runs in the family. So and just to hear all of the Thrawn stuff, that was pretty incredible because it just solidifies this whole connection to what Dave Filoni's been working on for so long. And one of the other things is it seems like there's some tension between the group as well because Moff Gideon's like, where's this Thrawn? I haven't seen Thrawn. You keep talking about him, but he's not there. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out, especially now that he's gotten what he's asked for. But that's a little bit further into the episode. We'll talk about that later, I guess. But yeah, it seems like he's gotten the most favor of the Shadow Council, I guess. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of crazy because space GOP is fighting just like real GOP. And yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of hard to believe that these guys wind up on top with so much politics and crap, like just getting thrown at each other. I guess, Space Biden or whoever's in charge there, probably turning a blind eye to all this. Anyways, art imitating life, everyone. Julie, what about you? What did you think of all this?
I just have to comment on what you said about the GOP, because I was literally having that thought earlier today, like when I was thinking about the show and just what we were talking about like, Jedis. I think in the previous episode we were saying like how, like Jedis aren't necessarily like the goodest of the good guys sometimes, and stuff like that. But it's like, it does feel a lot like political, where it's like well, they're not the goodest of the good guys. They do some shady things, but they're still better than the trash that is the Empire. You know what I mean? Like,
Very
because
true.
the Empire is literally like just murdering people for fun and things like that, you know? So it's like, there's just some eerie similarities. Anyway, so it's just funny that you brought up that thought. Anyway, but yeah, no, I thought it was a great start to the sorry if that was a weird like segue.
No, it's a perfect
I just
segue.
felt like I needed to comment on it just because I had that same
I'm
thought
glad you
earlier.
did. No, I'm glad you
But-
did. Yeah.
No.
But anyway, yeah, no, great start to the episode because I was sitting there just like, holy crap, like the whole time. I was like, and then of course we knew this was coming, right? But like, it's still very shocking to actually like see it happen because you're not sure exactly like when it's gonna happen and how it's gonna play out and stuff like that. Because like, you know that the Empire comes back, the Imperial people, whatever, because they're you know, we know the Force Awakens happens, but like, yeah, again, we don't know what happens within that timeline. So it's just the when and the why and the how. And yeah, I didn't notice the Hux. I was wondering actually, yeah, I had a feeling he was related to General Hux or whatever, but I'm glad you brought that up. And yeah, no, it was just a solid opening. And just Moff Gideon, like, man, he's just cocky, isn't he? Like, he just like he thinks he just needs to know everything at all times, and like he thinks he's always. I mean, he is a step ahead of people for the most part, but like sometimes I feel like he's just a little cocky about everything. I don't know. That's just me.
No, he really is. I mean, like, and I think it's going to be his downfall eventually. It's because everybody, we have to be honest. Every single time we see Moff Gideon, he does have a one up on our heroes. Like, he comes into the picture. Yeah. It's one of the things that he said to Mando in the first season, or maybe it was the second season, but he's like, first things first, assume I know everything, you know? And I think it's the second season where he says that. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of warranted because he's had a one up on these guys for all 3 seasons so far. It's kind of crazy how smart he is. Really but I think the Mandalorians, you know, obviously their guard is down at this point because where Moff Gideon is the last time they saw him, he was being arrested. Nobody knows that he escaped. You know, I mean, it took the New Republic, you know, just a whole scavenge, you know, thing, you know, like a mission to find out that he escaped because Eliakim's working the records and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's easy for him to have gotten the drop on them, but man, that guy's a wily character. He's smart as hell. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that's why he's so upset that he doesn't know about Thrawn because he feels like he should know because he's in the know about everything, you know. So that's a little bit, you get a little hint of like, oh, maybe he's actually doesn't know everything, and that's why he's getting so upset about it, you know.
Yeah,
of course,
because he says it that secrets are his stock and trade sort of thing. That kind of
So him being kind of shut out is like, you know, he's getting pissy about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think about that, but that's actually a really good point. Julie, for somebody, so I know, of course, your history, you haven't seen Clone Wars or Rebels, totally cool. But as a Mando fan, you have, of course, heard the name Thrawn before, and I'm guessing that you're already aware of his name and everything like that. I mean, the last time that we heard Thrawn's name, really, just canonically speaking, as the series has progressed, was really the second season episode, The Jedi, where Ahsoka name drops him and goes, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" When you hear it again, as someone who didn't see Rebels or who didn't see Clone Wars, but might be loosely familiar with the character, I mean, what was going through your head when you heard it again? Did you think that they were going to do something big, or, you know, I mean, like, how excited are you for Thrawn's debut?
Yeah, I definitely do think they're going to do something big. I think that's what all of this means. I think this has probably been building up for a long time, and that's why they were kind of foreshadowing, name dropping him in the prior season. And yeah, like, I mean, just the way that he's talked about, he seems like the biggest of the bad. Like, obviously, like before we get Kylo Ren or any of those guys, he seems like he's a pretty big deal in this whole imperial circle or whatever. So, and he's like the one that everyone's talking about. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this all plays out, because we all love a big bad. We're gonna see how that's gonna go.
Yeah, for sure. Prediction, prediction for the season finale. I think we're gonna get Thrawn, because I think it's going to end with Thrawn as a cliffhanger, or at least a post-credit scene, and that's going to
I
lead
think
us
we have
into
to. I think it has
Ahsoka.
to end that way,
It
because
has
that
to, right?
just
It's
like
gonna be
after
a,
all this build
a
up, yeah.
Loki sort of thing,
Yeah.
basically for me. Yeah, where he who remains. That's
Yeah.
kind of on the same level.
On this, definitely on the same level. And even last year when they did the post-credit scene that kind of introduced us to Book of Boba Fett, they'll probably do that again for Ahsoka, since Ahsoka's coming right around the corner.
Yeah.
A couple of things just in the chat. So I think Cue Ball, to answer one of your questions, would we want to see a Mando Obi-Wan crossover episode? It's a bit hard, because at this point in time Obi's dead. He's been long dead. I think Vader kills him in New Hope. This takes place after Return of the Jedi. Having said that, if time travel was possible in this universe, and Doc Brown is here, so time travel probably is possible in this universe. Someday maybe Din Djarin and Ewan McGregor might get a little crossover. Who knows? It would also be a nice Back to the Future crossover. You've also redeemed 2 Nom Talk points. One for Take a Bite. I do not have anything to bite.
I have a strawberry. That's it. So.
Okay, there's a strawberry.
Julie's ate my sandwich, but I got some Annie's crackers.
I'm going to gnaw on the top of this Mountain Dew bottle. You also asked us to hydrate, so I gnawed on that bottle for the Take a Bite, and
I don't have something to hydrate on.
Okay, so Mike is the inverse of me. That's okay. At least between you and me, Mike, we both took a bite and we both hydrated, so we're good.
There you go.
There you go. That works.
Andy says, "Hey Andy, good to see you, buddy. Gideon was chewing up those scenes left and right. Yes, he has been. Yes." And also, Andy, I love that you're on, because you are someone who has read the book, something that I haven't done. I don't know, Mike, if you have. No. Mike hasn't. And then Julie, have you read any of the books, the Timothy Zahn books? No. None of us have read any of those books. But our friend on the chat, Andy, has, and says, knowing the character from the Timothy Zahn novels, this is the villain fans are going to be excited to see. Absolutely. Everybody's really excited to see Thrawn. Also, I think the person that was in close contact with Thrawn, I forgot his name. It started with a P. He's the older dude that Moff Gideon was like, why haven't you produced Thrawn? Okay. He's actually in the books as well, apparently. But this is just hearsay, because I haven't read any of that. Sure. Andy says we're getting an Empire ending. No, Mike, not the microplastics. As I guess, Andy, it wasn't that bad tasting. So it tasted like Mountain Dew sludge. Anyways, thank you guys as always for participating. Moving on. After the cold open with, really exciting way to just kick off this episode. We go back to Navarro, where all of the different Mandalorians are settling, and bo-katan has been successful in bringing back the entire Night Owl fleet, I'll call them, from Jack Blackland, wherever that was. Yeah, I forgot the planet that was on.
Plezar 15.
Plezar 15.
Plezar 15. Yeah,
there you go. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. This is why I have to have co-hosts. But yeah, they come back. Bo's like, I don't know if these guys are gonna get along, because they've never met and ideologies are really different. Mando gets summoned by Grief Karga to go visit him, because he's like, hey, I got something for you to see. Mando goes to the city, and we get to see what we think is IG-11 walking into the scene, and inside is a little Anzelian controlling it like a mech droid, which is awesome. And they're like, hey, maybe you can get the baby to start piloting that. And the Anzelian comes out, and he's like, no, bad baby, don't squeeze, and leaves. But then Mando puts Grogu in there. And Mando's like, no, he's just a kid. He's not going to be able to do this. And Grogu's like, no, 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 in Taika Waititi's voice, which is kind of awesome. And this is kind of our first our first glimpse at Grogu actually having been able to understand everything that's been going on so far. He's not really a baby. He's actually sentient. He just can't really speak or do anything, like a fully grown version of his species might. But he's fully conscious. He really knows what's going on. And like a 5-year-old, he's just pressing the buttons every time he's like feeling something just to piss off Din Djarin too.
I know.
He's just doing it to screw with his dad, and he's like, yes, yes, yes. And then the next scene transitions and it's just like, yes, yes, yes. And like Din Djarin's like, oh, this is such a bad idea. starts messing with a poor fruit vendor's cart, and Din Djarin has to pay for everything. Grabs a Melu run, which by the way, I'm glad that we got a live action Melu run. Fruit. In the cartoons, there was like a whole episode of Rebels, kind of a filler episode, where Zeb and Ezra chase after a Melu run. And if you go to Galaxy's Edge as well, and you go to the Ronto Roasters restaurant, they got Melu run juice, and it's delicious. It's like the greatest freaking
I've never tried
nectar
it
of the
yet.
gods. It's so good. Yeah, it's my favorite
Oh my
drink.
God,
I think.
okay. Next
Yeah.
time I go, whenever that
It's
will
really,
be.
really good. So
I love the
Melu run's
Ronto wraps. They're like my favorite. But
my favorite snack like ever at Galaxy's Edge.
no, they're so good. They're so good.
So good.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah. But no,
Yeah.
I haven't tried the melon run. I have to try that.
Yeah, the juice is really good. But yeah, no, we get Grogu in the mech suit, and we now have a new way for Grogu to get from point A to point B. And we also gave that, mech guns, so Grogu can just shoot the living crap out of things if he really wants to, which seems like a really bad idea. But I'm gonna stop right there. I mean, what did we think of Mecha Grogu?
I mean, I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, Mando's, Din's probably right. It's probably a bad idea, but in the meantime, it's really funny to see him like trying to navigate this thing, and like, it's definitely like you need to have that little bit of comic relief, especially in an episode as intense as this. So like, they definitely were giving us that, and that's what I really appreciate about the writers of the show is they always at least have some comic relief in every episode. And I also just love Grogu and the Anzellans. Like, I could just watch a show with them. Like, baby, no, Scooby.
And Grogu's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah, no. And then he's walking through the town and just going, yes, yes, because I was cracking up so hard. But I mean, but later on, I think he's starting to figure it out. So, maybe he'll figure it out, and this will maybe be a good method of protection, transportation, weaponry for him. We shall see.
I mean, it's pretty ballsy to put Grogu in the body of a Terminator, essentially.
Yeah,
that's what the IG-11s really are.
Happen.
They're like Terminators. I mean, it's nuts. But Grogu's smart, so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
He's very smart, and that's the thing is that he's smarter than I think we give him credit for sometimes, and so he's starting to figure it out. Although I will say though is that this is like the second or third time now in this season they've teased Taika coming back, and I really just want there to be an actual version of Taika's full-on IG-11 at some point because they keep teasing us, but we'll see.
When Mando gets frustrated with the amount of yeses and nos, he'll just replace it with Taika, and then instead of yeses and nos, we'll get hey men, you want to go over there and hijack that ship, something like that. So that'd be fun. Yeah,
that would be fun.
Mike Lee, you were also going to weigh in. What were you going to say?
I was going to say this kind of changes the dynamics with between Grogu and Din, because now we don't have to worry about, I guess, Din overlooking, is Grogu safe or whatnot, because he's always, waddling or inside that, baby carriage. And now we get to see him in a fully functioning suit where he can walk and basically handle his own learn, and then he'll be able to handle his own. but about the communication thing, I didn't post this. I posted like spoilers, no context things on my Twitter, but I forgot. This kind of reminded me of the Black Mirror episode where
Oh,
there's robot monkey, this toy
I haven't
monkey,
seen it.
and the only thing the monkey could say is monkey loves you and monkey needs a hug. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but that's just basically the gist of its communication. So for him to say yes and no, it was kind of funny, but it's basically our only way we can understand that, well, that he understands what's actually going on. Now we can actually see or hear that he comprehends like the whole situation.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, so it's fun to watch that and see, do like you were saying, Julie, about the whole comedy things. Like, you know what? No, I know what I want. I want this.
Yeah.
I want this fruit. You pay for the fruit, sort of thing.
Right.
It was really great.
Like, you're the one with the money.
Yeah.
Come on, Dad.
like Grogu's kind of a brat, he's like a bratty kid. He's like, if I want to squeeze the Anzelian, I'm gonna squeeze the Anzelian. If I want
now he could say it
I'm
though.
gonna buy
Yeah.
this fruit. Yeah.
So I'm gonna squeeze this Anzelian whether you know like it or not.
Oh my God. Yeah. Mando spoiled his kid, man. I mean, like, that's gonna be a very spoiled kid.
I
like,
mean, but wouldn't
yeah.
you? Come on now, look at that face.
Yeah. I would
He has to
totally
pay for
spoil him.
everything, basically.
Yeah.
Like
And
you
the
break it,
thing
you buy
is-
it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's breaking everything, and Mando's like, oh, your money. And the funny thing is, like, with Grogu, it's not enough for him to have the Force and throw a temper tantrum with the Force. He now has a mech with guns that he could throw temper tantrums under. So he's like, I want it now. Pew, pew, pew. I mean, like, that would
my
be
God.
that'd be horrible.
Yeah.
We actually got our first taste that he spoils it with, like, in the first episode, the first season, where he takes the ball off the hand. I was like, you know what? Here, he's already spoiling it from way in the beginning.
It's the kid everything he wants. Jesus Christ, Mando. Boundaries. Boundaries. Kind of a crappy dad. I mean, no, you're a good dad, but man, discipline, dude. I mean, but yeah, our good friend Q, of course, wanted to suggest a poll. So thank you for that, Q. Which Jedi Master would you seek advice from, Obi-Wan or Yoda? It's got to be Yoda. I mean, like,
Yoda,
yeah,
for sure.
Why would I seek the advice of the only master who's like, chosen one student went crazy and killed all the Jedi? I mean, like, it's not a great master. I love
Not
Obi-Wan.
a very good teacher. Like,
Yeah,
you see what's going on. Like, no, it's okay. Turn a blind eye.
Yeah,
We'll be
it's
fine.
just it just goes down to facts and counts for me. Number of rogue students that went crazy and killed everyone for Yoda, 0. Number of crazy students for Obi-Wan, 1. So I'm like, yeah, it's Yoda.
Yoda was the first one of the first to say, I'm not sure about this Anakin kid. You're like, don't push it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
And isn't Yoda like one of the oldest Jedis as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so like
Yes,
that just lends to like experience as well. Like age leads to wisdom, leads to experience, all that. So yeah, I feel like he's got like a plethora of knowledge up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, while I love Obi-Wan, I think I'd have to agree with you. Like Yoda would be my choice.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
And let's be honest, I sympathize with Obi-Wan, I really do, because it's like, it's not like he wanted to get saddled with Anakin, but like taken over there is like, oh no, we must train the boy. He's got a high midichlorian count. Oh, and Obi-Wan's like, I don't think this is a good idea. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna die. Bye. And then Obi-Wan's like, okay, yeah. I guess I'm stuck with him, So yeah, poor Obi-Wan. I feel bad for him. He
was just trying to follow what his master wanted, and
yeah.
He's trying to continue the faith, the whole, like, the optimism in him and the faith in humanity and that kind of thing. He's trying to continue with that tradition, even though he had some doubts himself. But
exactly.
Can you fault him for that? Like.
But much like Din Djarin, Obi-Wan's a bad dad. So let the kid have whatever he wanted, and then the Jedi were extinct in like 10 years. So Just
Yeah,
saying.
well,
Boundaries.
yeah.
That's the moral of Star Wars is boundaries and discipline, guys.
There you go,
No.
right
Yeah,
there. That's it in
exactly.
a nutshell.
But yeah, no, great poll suggestion, Q. Thank you so much for that. So getting back to the show, after we get the yes yes no no bot, we go back to where the Mandalorian settlement is, and Bo is sort of there rallying the troops, letting them know the situation. Everything in Mandalore is actually breathable, it's inhabitable, all this stuff. And we need a party to go there. Who's willing to do it? And at first, no one's really willing to do it. And then, of course, the first person who stands up is
Of
Din
course it's
freaking
Din,
Djarin.
of
Of
course.
course it's Din. Of course it is. And we love that about Din. It's actually my favorite thing about it.
Yeah.
It goes actually back to one of the criticisms I think a lot of folks have had about this show, this season. A lot of people are thinking that it's not Din's story, and to a degree, yeah, I could see that argument because it's Din and Grogu haven't been the focus this season. But I also would argue that if the series collectively as a whole was about the reestablishment of Mandalore and the Mandalorian race, told through the eyes of Din Djarin, um, we are seeing here in this kind of payoff season from the past two episodes that build up to it that Din Djarin is playing a significant part in all of this. He's the one that discovered that Mandalore is inhabitable and breathable and everything like that, kind of by accident because he just kept falling into holes and rivers and shit. But still did, you know. And he's the first person to believe in Bo. He's the first person to stand up and volunteer to do the search party. Didn't believe so fully in the reestablishment and the commitment to this idea of reestablishing Mandalore that he's willing to put it all on the line. And that does tie it back very heavily into this being his show, in my opinion. I can understand the execution's a little bit different because we are getting more about Bo, more about the Mandalorians, but this is still very much Din's show. I wanted to just pause there and just see what you guys thought about this. I mean, because Din being the first to stand up, and then later on a really nice moment where he and Bo-Katan connect, and he's like a knight in shining armor, like I will serve you always, Lady Kryze, you know.
I
Um,
know.
yeah, it's a beautiful moment, honestly. It's almost really like a medieval story in a way, with the gallant knight that's willing to put all the line for faithfulness and loyalty and
Mhm.
all that stuff. What do you guys think about that? I mean, this idea that this still is Din's story and he's playing the significant part about it, but it's a little bit more complex because he's being thrown into a larger universe and a larger mythology at hand.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
absolutely think it's still Din's story. I mean, he, like you said, he's playing a huge part in it, and he is like, if not for him, I mean, I don't think a lot of the Mandalorians would have been reunited because he's the one who went and found bo-katan and convinced her to come. I mean, she kind of helped him, like saved him
Yeah.
or whatever, but she wouldn't have done that if he had not first like kind of built that bridge between them. So you wouldn't have any of this reuniting without him, to be honest. And also, like you said, the complexity, like I think every good show needs that complexity. Like, if you watch, like, I can think of so many shows where, like, after a few seasons, you have to focus on something else. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's not still focusing on him. I mean, come on, we still get plenty of Grogu. We're still getting plenty of Din. Like, we're just seeing a different side of him, and we're seeing like a different it's not just his solo side quest journeys right now, but I think that that's important. I think we need to see this whole story unfold with the Mandalorians, because like he was trying to search for who he was, and now he's figuring that out, so
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I the thing I like about this episode is now that the whole seasonal arc is coming into focus.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it has been little bits of all the filler episodes that we've seen so far. We've had little bits of the seeds of what it's going to be culminating to the last episode. but in between everything, we got to see these dynamics between Din and Bo-Katan and everyone else. And what I love about that is it just fleshes out the story more. Um, and we get to see uh, more of how the other characters influence, or how I guess Din influences the other characters, so to speak. So yeah, like you guys were saying, even though we see a lot more of these other side characters, it's still very much Din's story, and it just how his impact has, goes across the galaxy of sorts. So yeah.
I wanted to posit an idea by you guys and just see what your thoughts were on this as well. Like for me, it's interesting because I was having a debate with a good buddy of mine, and friendly debate, really smart guy, really passionate about fandom, and it was, his arguments and everything were intelligent. So I really enjoyed talking with him about it. But he mentioned that this season felt really side questy. Understandable, but I posited to him that is that not the formula for every season of The Mandalorian? I mean, when we think about it, when he first meets Cara Dune and they have to take down the chicken walker, that's a side quest. When he's breaking out Miggs Mayfield from the prison in the first season, that's a side quest. When he's helping what's his name with the crate dragon, why am I blanking on Timothy Oliphant's name?
Yeah.
Cobb Vanth. When he's helping out Cobb Vanth with the crate dragon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when he is what was episode 4? There was a side questy thing. Oh, helping Grief Karga and Cara Dune on Navarro when he returns to Navarro, side quest, in season 2. And that's kind of the formula Mando has always kind of followed. Oh, when he's ferrying Frog Lady too, also side quest. That's kind of the formula that Mando has always followed, is that you have these side quests, but whenever every side quest episode, the seeds of the greater arc are being planted, and then everything culminates in the season finales typically. And I feel like this season's no different. But the one big difference between this season and the previous seasons is such that everything from the past 2 seasons is to help us understand and establish Din Djarin as a character, and B, the mythology of Mandalore. And now that those things are I feel like Filoni and Favreau are like, now that the audience knows these things, we can open the floodgates and push Din into the greater universe of Star Wars and see how it all fits. And that's what season 3 was meant to be. That's what I was kind of thinking really is kind of the logic here about this season. And I feel like the criticisms that the season has received isn't really thinking about it that way. The audiences aren't really thinking about it that way. There's so many articles out there about, I think there was a Collider one that was like, Din Djarin should really just go, be a man making money and should go out there and make money, and that's all he should do. That's all the show should be. And I'm like, that's such a boring, simplistic approach to show.
Yeah.
There's nothing there for there's no investment, there's no storytelling, there's nothing there.
Or character development.
Exactly. I mean, him making money is just like, what is that kind of show? It's kind of
and talk about side quests, then that would all be side quests.
It would all be side quests, yeah. So it would be a very pointless show for me. And the other thing,
it would be side quests, but to no end,
Exactly. There would be no point to any of it, But then also the other thing that I posit for you is this: we've had a much bigger focus on Bo-Katan this season. She could easily be the eponymous Mandalorian that the series namesake is for this season. But more importantly than that, I feel like from season 1, from the very final episodes of season 1, when the Night of the Thousand Tears is introduced, when the Darksaber is introduced, this actually has become a story that's also about Bo-Katan. Because as soon as we see Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, the first thing that we think about is, how did he acquire that? Especially if you're a Rebels fan, the first thing you're thinking is, the last time we saw the Darksaber was with Bo-Katan, and now it's in Moff Gideon's hands. We have to answer that question about how it gets in the Moff Gideon's hands. And at that point, because that question is raised, the show also becomes about Bo-Katan before we even knew it was about Bo-Katan too. So I'm positing this idea. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that that really was this intent the entire time? Do you think that it justifies really how season 3 has been executed? And that some of the criticisms out there are a little are taking this into account or not taking this into account. I want to hear it. Yeah.
Oh, I'll let Julie go first.
Oh, okay. I was waiting, so I feel like I went first last time, but okay. Well, yeah, no, I mean, it definitely could have been their plan all along because I mean, it's Dave Filoni, right? And it's like he's so ingrained into the Star Wars universe, like they very well might have been a huge fan of Bo-Katan's character arc, storyline, whatever, and have been planning this, which I'm totally fine with because she's badass and I like think that she has an interesting story to tell too. Like Din's story is really interesting, but so is hers. Hers, like, as she, had this whole downfall of her people on her. So like that's fascinating to me, and I've got to hear a little bit more about that on this episode too. So yeah, I don't know, like it definitely could have been leading up to that. And yeah, like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with that if that was the case.
Of course. Yeah. Mike?
Oh, yeah, I could
Thoughts?
see how it could lead up to that. Also could see how it could lead to something a lot bigger because we've also got Dave Filoni's movie coming up, and
Yep.
apparently all of those things connect. So I don't know if that was thought of prior to what's been going on now, or
Yeah.
but we'll see. I guess now that his movie is just just one big crossover. It's we're gonna have to see how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to highlight one of the moments that you touched on, Julie, and I'm kind of going out of sequence here, but this is a big deal. Bo tells everyone, the audience included, she resolves one of the big mysteries, which is how the dark saber ever came into the hands of Moff Gideon, as well as how the Night of a Thousand Tears actually did occur. And it's unfortunate that we don't get this visually. I know that it's a lot of exposition on Katie Sackhoff's part, but I think the focus being on Katie Sackhoff as she's explaining this speaks and showcases a lot about the character of Bo-Katan and the guilt, the tremendous amount of guilt and trauma that she has felt ever since she had to surrender the dark saber to Moff Gideon. And I wanted to pause and just ask you guys what you guys thought of that scene, whether it was the execution, whether it was the explanation, when she's giving this story and giving the audience answers, but also the Mandalorians the answer. What was going through your head, and what did you guys think about it?
I thought she was at a very vulnerable point in like throughout the whole, I guess, her life, I guess, since we've seen her. She's never really shown us that kind of side of her where she's like, this is kind of my fault. This is, she was very honest at that time, and I thought that was very kind of an admirable thing to see, because we don't get the kind of those too many moments in these kind of Star Wars universe content, I guess, because in the films they have to move so much to get through a certain amount of story, and just just to see that was pretty incredible.
Julie, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Yeah, she definitely had her vulnerable moment, and it was pretty cool to see that. I also feel like it just shows you, like, and Din reaffirms this later, that she thinks she was being selfish, but she really just cares about her people. And like, when you're a leader and you're faced with that hard choice, like, I mean, what choice did she have, really? You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, like, when you're dealing with like the Empire, like it's kind of a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
So if there's even a chance of having some hope and like making a deal, surrendering, whatever, you kind of have to take it, because it's like either that and maybe there's a chance of hope, or the other option, you're just gonna fight and die probably. So yeah, when you are faced with that situation, I think she did what she had to do. And unfortunately, you know, it turned on her because I mean, like, it's the
Moff Gideon's a
Empire, like,
bastard. Yeah.
yeah. But no, it was cool to see that story. And I think that in what little reactions we saw from the other Mandalorians, I think some like really respected it and some were maybe a little bit like, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way, but they still knew like it was a tough choice, you know. So
I think Andy on the chat also wanted to weigh in on this, and he had some excellent points here as well. Bo had some excellent character development, particularly with her survivor's guilt and acceptance,
mm,
that she needs to lead her people back from the brink, not motivated by station, but rooted with doing the right thing.
right.
110%. You know, and I think that that's something that Din Djarin absolutely sees in her. It's the whole reason for him to say, I will follow you, you know, till the end of the time or whatever
Yeah.
he says. And it's, yeah, I think that it's all about doing the right thing. It's not about the dogmatic beliefs that, you know, Mandalorians have placed their stakes in, you know, beliefs, by the way, which because they're so arbitrary, has literally led to Mandalore getting conquered by the likes of Darth Maul. It's led to Mandalore getting, you know, destroyed by Moff Gideon. You know, I mean, like that whole over reliance on the dark saber has been a double-edged sword, no pun intended,
Mm.
or pun intended. No one redeemed it, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely bitten them in the ass. Their dogmatic beliefs and their over reliance to dogma their faith. Um, it's led to the infighting. It's led to the downfall of Mandalore multiple times. I mean, it's really should be about doing the right thing, and I'm glad that that's sort of starting to take shape now in this new age of Mandalore, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And yes, Nom Talk, you did hear a pun. Double-edged sword. Okay, so the one thing that I have to touch on is we made three new characters on the surface of Mandalore. People who seem to be survivors from, you know, the Night of a Thousand Tears on their little you know, ship thingy in the middle of the you know, ruins of Mandalore. And you know, they claim to be they know who bo-katan is, and they know, you know, where the Great Forge is, all of this stuff. Where are we feeling? How are we feeling about these guys? Do you guys, the episode is called The Spies, and I wanted to know
Right.
if you guys thought about these guys. Are these the spies, or do you think it's somebody else?
I think it's somebody else. I
You think
mean,
it's are you thinking what I'm thinking you're thinking, sir? Sorry, that's like a total Zoolander moment there. Like, are you thinking it's the armorer?
Hmm.
No. Okay, no, no. Sorry,
no.
I
I
don't
assumed
think
I
so.
don't
I
think she
made an
would do that. That
assumption.
that would be a strange character turn for
I'm
that
so
thing.
glad that you said that because I would be heartbroken if it was. But literally, the
Yeah.
internet was like, "Oh, the armorer is so suspect now." Ooh, and I was like,
What?
"What?"
I don't.
Yeah,
What has the armor done that is suspect so far?
Yeah,
Like
that's
other
the
than
thing.
yeah.
follow
She's
the way. Like I don't know. I
Like
don't
it
see
would
it.
make no sense for her to beat up a bunch of pirates, and in Navarro she didn't have the best interests of Mandalore in mind, you know. Excuse me, sorry.
Right. Who
But yeah,
we found out we're tied to Moff Gideon, right? In the
yep,
beginning, we found out the pirates were tied to them.
yeah.
So yeah, it would make no sense for her to like beat them all up. Like
Exactly. I, I
like
I mean,
she would have been like sneaking off and trying to like figure something else out, you know?
yeah.
That's what I think.
But that being said, Mike, who do you think were the spies or are the spies, if not the armor?
oh, one of the night owls, I would have to think, because they're already
Mm.
um we haven't seen them with Bo-Katan, and you know, they already have some sort of distrust or animosity towards the other Mandalorians. So
Hmm.
yeah, some of the members of the Night Watch, but we'll see.
Maybe Axwell over Casca
Yeah.
Reeves. Yeah. I kind of hope it's not Casca because I like Casca. The last time in the season finale of season two, she really like was awesome in that episode. She beats up Boba Fett
She's the
and she
one with
like
like the headband.
Yeah,
crisscross
Yeah,
headband.
yeah.
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
thought. Okay.
It's
I don't
what's
see
her
her
name
as that
from
either, honestly,
yeah,
after what we saw in season 2, like you were saying.
yeah.
She already had that bond, but we never saw a lot of
Axe.
Alex, yeah.
Axe
Alex
Wolf.
Wolf's Axe
Yeah,
Wolf.
yeah.
Yeah. So
It might be him. That's a good point. Um, Julie, what about your theories on who the spies
I've
are?
I've actually heard rumors that it was Casca. But
Mm.
again, that's just people speculating. But I will say, like, this episode, she did like a couple of things where I was like, she was almost like too eager to like help out, So like, I don't know, but also I'm not gonna put it past the guys that we met in this episode either. They seemed a little sus too. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I mean,
like
how do you
how
live
did
on
they
Mandalore?
survive and what's
Yeah.
that?
How do you live on Mandalore and not know that somebody has taken over a great portion of it with Imperial troops and shit,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's a little bit
okay.
sus to me.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have to find the Great Forge. We could take you there, you know? It's
Right.
like, come on,
Yeah, so
guys.
it definitely could be them too. I could see it going either way, honestly. Just I think there's been some sus behavior from Night Owls and from these guys, so I don't know. But
I I think it could be very, very good theories, and maybe it's a whole conspiracy thing where Casca and Axe are in cahoots with these three people, and they're like, hey, go and
yeah,
act like this, and they cut a deal with Moff
Mm.
Gideon or something like that. I
definitely could
mean,
be.
remember, and granted, it could be a red herring of sorts, but
Mm.
when it's discovered that Moff Gideon broke out of the shuttle, they said that they found traces of Beskar. Obviously, yes, that the easy assumption to make is that the crazy stormtroopers that Moff Gideon built with the Beskar armor were the ones that broke them out. Sure, but it also could mean that Costco Reeves or Axwove or somebody could have also left that Beskar armor there. So it's incredibly sus that somebody among them that hopefully is not the armorer
I
is
know.
is the traitor.
Like, I just think that would be a really bad character turn, like Mike was
Yeah,
saying.
I
I don't,
I'd be
yeah.
pissed and
I
disappointed.
feel
And like the only justification I could see for the armorer doing all this is, that she somehow knew that the dark saber was turned over to Moff Gideon because by bo-katan, but I feel like that would be a very stupid thing to do, and she wouldn't have really known that. It wouldn't make much sense. So
yeah.
hopefully it's not going to disappoint us, and the armorer is suddenly evil. What? I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
that'd be bad.
No. That's not a good direction to take.
I hope it's the three.
That's like a Game of Thrones level disappointment right there.
Yeah, that would be
Maybe
really
not that bad, but
no, it'd be pretty disappointing in my
yeah.
opinion. I agree. I really hope it's those three guys and that's it, because it's like we have no investment in them. I'm okay if we
Yeah.
throw them under the bus.
Yeah. Don't
But
care what happens to them. It's fine.
don't care what happens to them. It would be fine. But yeah, it's interesting. In an episode called The Spies, we never really get any real insinuation of
That's
them
true.
being spies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until you
Mm.
brought that up. I was like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, they're like trying to. I think they just want us to like start making inferences and our own guesses about.
All will be revealed next week, I suppose. But
Maybe.
before it's revealed, Din has to get himself captured again.
I
And
know.
this time by Moff Gideon. The one thing that I was kind of like disappointed by is, yeah, Din's like kind of strung up and everything, but doesn't he still have like his little whistling birds? And I'm like, could those have taken out all of those guys, all the Beskar guys, or would it just have bounced off them because it's Beskar armor?
That's a good question. I
I
don't
was
know.
wondering. I mean, he's making just bad decisions this season. I'm gonna leave the spoiled brat baby of mine with Jack Black and Lizzo because I like Jack Black and Lizzo. Even though I don't know them, I'm not whistling birding or anything like my way out of things. I don't know. But anyways, he gets captured. And they'll have to rescue him next season, next episode. But thankfully, Bo and the rest of the team can get the hell out of there because she's still got the dark saber, and they escape. And the one person that holds them off is Paz Vizsla, aka John Favreau, and he is kicking ass. He's got a big ass turret, and even he throws the turret.
That maybe he had a shot for a second. And then,
right. Because he took down everyone. He's a big guy. The Beskar was really protecting him well, But then we hear the footsteps of 3 Praetorian guards that got delivered to Moff Gideon's doorstep. And unfortunately, we saw these guys get close to taking down 2 Jedi. One of them's or 1 Sith and 1 Jedi. In Last Jedi. And a Mandalorian without the Force, without a lightsaber, nothing like that, he really didn't stand that much of a chance against them, and they just wreck him. And it's just so sad, because Paz Vizsla was the first guy to stand up, and he's like, yes, this is the way, this is why we protect it. And he was instrumental in getting that plot of land in Navarro. But I mean, thoughts on I'm gonna call it Paz Vizsla's last stand. Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tear.
It was yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No,
Right.
go.
I feel like he is such a big honor guy. I do feel like the way that he handled that last battle was sort of he wanted to die in battle. I think that certain people from his tribe of Mandalorians to die in this glorious battle protecting their people is probably some weird dream of theirs, and that does seem like it could be his as well. Just the way that he was no, there's too many, I got this. He knew the consequences, and he just went out there and did it anyway. So it's still sad, and I feel like there maybe could have been another way, but at the same time, I feel like that's kind of the way he wanted to go out. If that makes sense.
That is true. That's the Warriors. That is the way,
but...
right? Yeah. Mike, thoughts?
I mean, Julie said it best. These guys have been raised, and they live on this kind of religion of the warrior's way, so to speak. And we've seen that even in episode 1, where they were already baptizing the kid with the helmets and everything like that. And this is they went through this whole spiel. Will you live by this sort of code, so to speak? And so we've seen him in that. This is the most I think we've seen him in action throughout the whole 3 seasons. So for him to go out like this,
he was a badass.
For him to go out like this, it seems really fitting at the same time. So
it's kind of cool because this is a character that we don't get a whole lot of screen time with from the beginning of his introduction in the end of season 1 to now, and yet we feel connected to him. We get just enough screen time about him for us to know what he's about, from him sticking up for Din Djarin and Grogu at the end of season 1 against, at the time, Greef Karga's forces, to him and the Armorer really being all that's left, and him really defending his claim to the dark saber because it's the part of the Vizsla clan, Clan Vizsla, to having a son, and then to finally dying here. We end up getting endeared to him from these little snippets and moments of time because it's just good writing. It's just really, we get his deal just like that, and it's enough for us, So I kind of like that, but yeah.
He's your classic, tough on the outside, but kind of has a heart of gold on the inside type character. You know what I mean? He's definitely got a soft spot for the kids, a soft spot for his people that he loves and stuff like that. As much as he's no, honor, this is the way. It's but he's deep down, he's
you gotta wonder what's gonna happen. You gotta wonder what's gonna happen to his kid now, Poor bastard. Hopefully Hopefully the kid just becomes like this cool ass warrior. It's nice that Clan Vizsla is still around. It doesn't end at Paz, and I like
Right.
that. I mean, it almost ended it almost ended at Paz if they didn't save him from Jurassic World. But I mean, he ended up yeah, he's still alive, and that's kind of nice. Andy on the chat says a couple of things. Thank you for pointing this out, Andy. The whistling birds wouldn't have been effective because it would ricochet off of the Beskar. Fair enough. Good to know. And then two, Paz had a really interesting arc this series, from an adversarial role to this big-hearted warrior who had the purest intents for his people. 100%, yeah. And we really like seeing that. We really like seeing his dedication to the way. And honestly, it's just going to end up being one of the most tragic endings, I think, to any of the episodes that we've had in The Mandalorian. And that includes an episode called The Tragedy. So yeah, like that being said, I think we're at time, guys, and we are at the end of the episode anyways. I'm really excited and looking forward to next week. I really hope that the season finale delivers in a Mandalorian way and not a Book of Boba Fett kind of way. So we'll see.
We all know how you feel about that.
Yeah, sorry. That season finale. But I have high hopes that this one's going to be amazing. So fingers crossed, and hopefully I won't eat those words next Friday when we talk about the season finale. But that being said, any final thoughts from any of you guys on the episode?
I will say I think Project Necromancer is about bringing Thrawn to life. So much, not so much about finding the missing part of him, but yeah, bringing back Thrawn to life.
I was thinking Necromancer was Palpatine and Snoke. Like they realized
I could see Palpatine. I'm not sure, but yeah.
It's like, they realized that they screwed up with Rise of Skywalker, and the one line that just pissed off John and Dave was when Oscar Isaac is like, somehow Palpatine returned, and now we're going to explain that somehow. I really hope that's not the case, but that's probably the case.
I just think that since it's going to lead up to Filoni's movie, I think Filoni's so invested in Thrawn, Thrawn's character. I think it has to be Thrawn.
I hope so. I would like it way more if it's about Thrawn and not about trying to fill in a terrible plot hole from a very less than mediocre movie.
Yes.
But yeah. Julie, final thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, I mean, just that I think this episode packed a lot of punch. It's really setting us up for the finale. I'm excited to see what happens. I think you guys are right. I think it's going to be Thrawn. I think maybe, I don't know, I think there's still a chance for us to see the Mythosaur, and maybe the Mythosaur is who comes and wipes everything out. Like, that would be awesome.
I would love that. Well, if it does... Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Well, if it's not a Mythosaur, it has to be a Purrgil. Come on.
Yeah.
Bring back the Purrgils.
I think it's just going to be a tradition with every season finale. It's going to be title character writing something big. So it's like a Rancor and Boba Fett at the end of Book of Boba Fett. In this case, Mythosaur and bo-katan.
It's interesting that we haven't seen now, or at least not yet, that Din hasn't taken off his helmet yet.
No, yeah.
So unless
supposedly he's not going to do a lot
going to
more,
this season?
is what I've heard. And apparently, like, that's why they're saying like Pedro Pascal is going to be on set a lot less and stuff like that. But I'm just like,
The Last of Us.
I don't know. Yeah.
Wouldn't
he's kind of taken this oath again now, and he's like sticking to it, like I can't see there being a reason really for him to be taking it off unless he gets hurt again, maybe, but I don't know.
He's like riding the Mythosaur, and the Mythosaur throws him off, and his helmet flies off, and that's how he takes off his helmet.
That could happen.
And then everybody looks at him on the ground. They're like, shun the non-believer, get out of our sect, you know.
Right. He's like, guys, did you not just see what happened?
It's an accident. Yeah, horrible. But yeah. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Julie, Mike, thank you, of course, as always, for helping ferry me through this entire episode. One final shout out and last call for you guys. Julie, where can everyone find you?
I am at Raelyn on Instagram. I have that linked down there. And then also at Raelady, JRAELADY on TikTok. Those are my primaries. Yeah, check it.
Perfect. Mike Lee, where can everyone find you?
All right, so Instagram, Facebook, what else? TikTok and Twitter at I am Michael J. Lee right over there. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And thank you guys as always for joining. I've been Mike Manalo. You guys can find me at TidyBullBoy182 on Twitter and Instagram, and of course always on the nerdsofcolor.org with my colleague Mike Lee, of course, and that's at LA with my colleague Mike Lee, of course, and whattowatch.com as well. That being said, also tune in next week for our final basic binges for the Mandalorian season 3, but also stay tuned throughout the week for more amazing content from Basic Binges and the Nom Talk Network. You guys have a great week. Thank you.
See you later.